Today we're talking about the roller coaster of sugar emotions. But first I want to do a little recap from yesterday from our Zoom call. We made kind of a pact to get the sugar binge items out of our refrigerator and our pantry and make a pile, take a picture, and post that picture on today's video. I'll be posting a video at about 4 o'clock every day for the next days after today, talking about things that we need to do to detox from sugar. I'm wondering, what are some of the sugar habits that you just do without thinking? Maybe you have a little jar or a box of candy in your pantry and you just go and pick one of those out every day and even think about it. Or maybe you just grab a soda out of the refrigerator and just pop that top and drink it down. Maybe it is putting a scoop or two of sugar in your coffee. There's just a lot of ways that we have incorporated habits of using sugar without even thinking about it. And so that's what we're kind of talking about today. Why are the emotions and the mood swings important? What do we do to create those things? And we have mood swings when we eat sugar, because where our sugar goes is controlled by hormones in our body. Insulin is one of them that I'm sure you're familiar with, because it actually works to pull too much sugar out of our bloodstream. And it helps our liver process sugar. It does just a lot of different things. And then also there's two hormones that are directly involved with our emotions, our fight and flight emotions, epinephrine and norepinephrine. When we have too much sugar, then we tend to fight, right? Or we run away. I used to eat quite a bit of chocolate. And one day I noticed I've had these fits of anger after I ate the chocolate. And when I noticed that, and I mentioned it to my husband, his little antenna went up and he went, "Oh, we'll have to watch that." So I still like chocolate, but I make sure that I don't eat too much of it. And that leads me into the different kinds of concentrations that we deal with in sugar. Now, some of us eat candy, and candy is very, very concentrated. And we might get a box of See's candy for Christmas, and we sit there, nibble on it, or we might eat fudge, or for our birthdays, maybe we get a bit of candy and we nibble on it, or we just kind of like certain candies, and so we tend to eat them. And that has very detrimental effects on our emotions, because we're eating a concentrated, highly concentrated form of sugar. The other thing is that we often mix sugar with refined grains. Now, refined grains are refined to a point where our body actually sees it as sugar. So things like flour that is not stone ground, but is actually ground in the steel mills, where they take out the germ off of the wheat. And when it's ground so fine, like I said, our body just kind of sees it as sugar anyway. So when we mix that up to make our cakes or our cookies, refined breads, things like that, then it becomes like a big loaf of sugar that we're eating. So that's kind of second on that list. And then the third thing on the list are the sugars that are added to our processed foods that we buy, maybe boxed foods of some food that other people make and we don't even consider those to be processed, but they are. And then fourthly is the food that we make, that we cook with, and maybe we add some sugar to it. And then finally, there's the natural sugars. So we're going to be talking about those throughout this whole week, but there's 5 different concentrations of sugars that we are eating. And the most common source of added sugar is soft drinks. And it's quite interesting, actually, how much sugar is in one can, which is a 12 ounce, usually 12 ounces. This is a 12-ounce glass of cola or soda. There's actually 10 teaspoons in a 12-ounce can of soda. So the average person actually drinks 40 gallons of soda a year, if you can imagine. Now, what that is 426 12-ounce cans of soda. That's about 8 per week, which is a little bit more than 1 per day. So it doesn't take much soda to add up to a lot of sugar. And in fact, if you do drink that amount of soda, a little over 1 can a day, you'll be adding 267 cups of sugar to this body that you have per year. Also, there's a lot of times that sugar is hidden in the food, the processed food. So if you ever buy a yogurt that has fruit in it, or any kind of yogurt other than maybe just a plain goat type yogurt, it has sugar added. And you know, because for every 4 grams of there are 4 grams of sugar in 1 teaspoon. And generally there are 21 grams of sugar in each of those small little 8-ounce cups of yogurt. 21 grams. So that would equal about 5 teaspoons of sugar, added sugar, that is in one of those little 8-ounce cups. And that's important to know, because when we start adding up all of those things, so maybe we have a soda during the day and we have a yogurt thinking that it's quite healthy, but actually has quite a lot of sugar in it, we've just eaten 15 teaspoons of sugar. You might as well be mainlining it. Pretty interesting, huh? So so we can see how the buildup of sugar can happen without us even really thinking about it, on a day-by-day basis. And then all of a sudden we find ourselves with some chronic diseases like diabetes, or chronic or cardiovascular disease, different types of diseases that are directly related to sugar. The good news is it's really easy to break the sugar habit, and you can do it in 2 or 3 days. That's why we're having a 5-day sugar detox. So, and just to let you know, this is not an unusual thing. My normal diet as an adult, not in the last few years, but as most of my adult life, was 1 to 3 sodas a day. And I had 1 or 2 scoops of sugar in my cereal, and I ate processed yogurt with its 5 scoops of sugar, and probably had coffee with a scoop or 2 of sugar in it. And all that added up to about 365 cups a year of sugar that I was eating. No wonder I was overweight. So the other thing is tooth decay. Sugar directly affects our teeth, and my teeth have always been poor. I wonder why. Not really. I don't wonder why at all. But they have these diseases, these chronic diseases, even tooth decay, which seems so common and not like a big deal, but it can have long-reaching effects on our body. So that's why it's so very important to try to detox from the sugar whenever we possibly can. So what we have today for you, besides what you did yesterday to pull all the binge things out of your refrigerator and so forth, is a sugar journal. And because of the mood swings that can happen when we eat sugar in varying amounts, it's important to recognize what emotions we find when we eat sugar on a regular basis. So this little chart, my sugar journal, talks about that. And I've written across the top, with the date and what items it was. You're not going to share this with anybody, so just be completely honest with yourself, what it was, and then any kind of emotion that you might have felt afterwards. If your anxiety went up, or you couldn't sleep at night, or if you got angry that you didn't expect. So there's a lot of ways that sugar affects us, and we don't even think about it. I remember a lady who was talking, I overheard her talking in a hair salon about how she had gotten these amazing candies at the store, and she just couldn't stop eating them. And in fact, she had gotten up at 11 o'clock at night after being in bed for 2 hours and eaten another one because it was just so good, and she just couldn't stop eating these things. So that was a perfect example of how cravings work with us, and these sugar cravings. So I just want you to write down what your emotions are, and just kind of keep this around. And when you do eat sugar, write down what the emotions are that you experience. And maybe you don't experience any emotions. Maybe you just eat sugar occasionally. Who knows? But just be very honest and write down what it is. I'm not going to ask you to share this with us. Just it's just something for you to recognize all of those. Now, don't forget the crave busting exercises, drinking your water and you can put fruit in it, lemons or berries or whatever you want to put in it if you don't like the taste of pure water. But drink 2 glasses every morning after you go to the bathroom and before you eat your breakfast, because that will help you just kind of set up your body to be detoxed, because the water detoxes us. And then whenever you get a craving and you want a piece of sugar, take a deep breath, drink a glass of water, and your body will love you for it. There's the other crave busting exercises that we talked about that were in the last video. So just decide what works for you. You know, put on a song and start singing it, start dancing to it. Deep breaths always help, and breathing techniques that we talked about also. So I hope that you will enjoy doing all of those instead of eating that extra piece of sugar. And I'll also put in today a mood poll, and it would be really lovely if you guys could answer it on the Facebook Wellness Warriors group, and just kind of let me know how it works, how you notice the moodiness affecting you from your sugar. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.